Why no one is freaking out about the looming massive earthquake threat in the Pacific Northwest? We're talking about this Cascadia subduction zone. When it comes again, the earthquake will be magnitude 8 or higher, which means the ground will warp and shudder for at least 2 minutes, and that would be considered the big one. However, it's possible for the entire Cascadia zone to rupture, turning this earthquake into a disaster movie level catastrophe. According to Amanda Siwa from Popular Mechanics, it says for many people, natural disasters inspire both fascination and fear. They're a sign of nature's power to not only create but also destroy. At the same time, they're a reminder of the human potential for ingenuity when it comes to protecting ourselves from the forces we cannot control. In this case, there are two opposing forces: the North American plate, an enormous tectonic plate that carries the entire continental United States on its back, versus the 90,000 square mile Juan de Fuca plate, located in the ocean off Washington, Oregon, North California. For the past 200 million years, these two have been squaring off in an epic wrestling match in an area known as the Cascadia Subduction Zone, or CSZ. And trust us, nobody wants to see the end of this round, yet only a few people seem truly bothered: seismologists, emergency management professionals, and those who have experienced earthquakes before. It's certain that the Northwest will experience a devastating earthquake again, says Chris Goldfinger, an oceanographer at Oregon State University, one of the world's leading experts on subduction zone earthquakes. He says, "We have no idea of the timing and how urgent it is." And if you see the video before this one, he says the big one would take about 3 to 5 minutes of shaking. He says, "We have no idea of the timing and how urgent it is." And Goldfinger tells Popular Mechanics people tend to ignore it in that case. The majority of the public, as well as most governments in the Northwest, are not yet pushing to implement the extensive infrastructure changes and early warning communication systems needed to save tens of thousands of lives. The Juan de Fuca plate has been steadily pushing against the Pacific coast as it slides beneath the North American plate, and here we see also on the west coast, of course, all these very high threat volcanoes there. So the Juan de Fuca plate steadily pushing against Pacific coast, sliding beneath North American plate, but the roughly 47 million square mile North American plate is not budging. Instead, it's locked tightly against the Juan de Fuca surface. And the chilling prediction from the Cascadia Region Earthquake Work Group, CREW for short, in its 2013 report on the Cascadia earthquakes, Cascadia has now been building up strain for over 300 years. So the next great earthquake could happen at any time. Reduced to simpler odds, the chances that an earthquake as large as a magnitude 9 will occur along the zone within the next 50 years are about 1 in 10. Geologists have been watching this bout closely for the past 30 years. They say the Cascadia zone, which stretches from northwest Vancouver Island in Canada to Northern California, is bound to suddenly snap back like it did 320 years ago, resulting in double punishment for first the violent upheaval of the land and then the fury of a wall of water flooding that broken land. Multiple Native American reports about an earthquake and tsunami wiping out communities in today's Washington State and British Columbia coincide with this time, and so do reports from Japan about a tsunami that devastated the Japanese coast the following day. And when it comes again, the earthquake will be a magnitude 8 or higher, which means the ground will warp and shudder for at least 2 minutes, and that would be considered the big one earthquake. However, it's possible for the entire Cascadia zone to rupture, turning this earthquake into a disaster movie level catastrophe. But there's still time to prepare, Goldfinger says, and geologists have some good ideas for protecting people and infrastructure in the event of the big one. We can use Japan as an excellent example of preparedness policy, he says, because Japan has a 1,000-year head start on learning how to live with earthquakes. Japan is the most resilient country in the world in preparing for earthquakes. You can have a major earthquake in Tokyo, but there's likely to be not much actual damage, Goldfinger says. In fact, Japan experiences minor quakes every week. A national initiative of earthquake-resistant code requirements safeguards buildings. Before a quake arrives, early warning system automatically warn the public and shut down certain activities, including the railway system and power plants. By contrast, no such systematic procedure exists in America. California's quake resilience has improved somewhat over the past 100 years. Previous quakes on the West Coast have caused enough devastation and loss of life to spur some changes. For example, building codes for new structures now require seismic design to withstand collapse. And still, the main problem is that there is no coherent long-term strategy for preparing our nation against earthquakes. Every town in America is left to its own devices to defend itself, Goldfinger says. For an unprepared town, even a small earthquake can cause major damage. This is a basic, simple thing. We have to start paying the bills a little at a time and save lives, or pay all at once. Earthquakes don't have to be disastrous, says Goldfinger. For example, it's possible to start retrofitting older buildings nationwide, prioritizing schools and hospitals in high-risk regions, he suggests. To take matters into your own hands, you can consult a program like Shakeout, where people across the world can learn about earthquake drills specific to their region and prepare before a quake hits. More than 3.5 million participants are already registered, and you can also turn to Shake Alert, an earthquake early warning system for the West Coast of the United States, which can alert people of earthquakes on their smartphones, and it's run by UC Berkeley Seismology Lab in California. And this is by Manesi Hua on Popular Mechanics on Bended Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.